Alright, so we're back at it again. I got a suggestion from a viewer. Shout out to Rodney Brand. Whether or not this works, it was a great suggestion. He asked if I had checked the fuel pump controller module. And I had seen a video on the Ford Tech Make You Loco channel talking about that thing. And I wasn't even sure if these had it or not. I don't know if they do. I thought it was only for the 3 valves. Oh, well, conveniently we don't have a spare tire to worry about. And I'm not sure if these older ones have that. God, he doesn't even have a vent tube on it. Oh, there it is. Well, let's plug that back in. It's probably full of water. I see something with a plug, but I don't know what it is up here. I'm sure that's a fascinating picture. But yes, I am going to do a little bit of digging up and around here to see if I can find the fuel pump controller, because if that is iffy, then that could certainly be one of my problems, if not the problem. Most of the time I've seen these things mounted where they are a little more accessible than this, at least on the intertubes. So I'm hoping I don't have to pull this whole cross member down to determine if this is it. But I'm going to go get a light and a mirror and take a look at this and see what I can find. All right, so it's dark because I hate this time of year, but I sucked about 15 gallons of gas out of this pile yesterday because I really didn't feel like working on it and dropping this tank empty. And it's very hard to get gas through a siphon hose out of the neck. So you got this vent, if you can see that thing back there. It's turned 90 degrees right now. Normally it points directly at me at that hose and it's hooked there. That's just the vent for the tank. And if you unhook the hose and turn the thing 90 degrees, you can pop it up and out of there, and you got about an inch and a quarter diameter hole right into the tank, and you can get in there with a siphon hose and drain it out. So, and then that, once you get it out, you can pop it back in a bit easier and put it, turn it, and you're done. So that's just in there right now. Plugging a hole up, keep critters and stuff out. Now, the rest of this stuff, you got, let's see, come on. You got a vent hose here for the neck and the filler neck itself right there. So those two have to come off to start. All of your connections, you may be able to see a little electrical connection back there, way in the back. That's part of what has to come undone, but it's hard to get to. And then the pump is further to the front of the tank, and all that crap's on the top. There's generally enough room to drop it a little bit and get to it, but it's a pain. There's a few more lines that have to come off. I don't recall if you need the special tool that slips into the Ford fittings to disconnect it. I have them if I do need it. I've done a bunch of these. So right now, I'm not going to videotape all the steps, but the first thing I'm going to do is pop these hoses off, and then we're going to get underneath and figure out where all these straps go and take those down and see if I can drop this on my face. That's what we're doing next. Okay, so up under the tank you got a couple of 13mm bolts in C-clip things with the threads on them through these slots. You can kind of see the clip behind there, and they are snug. This is a southern truck, so there's really no rust down here. But if you got a northern truck, good luck. These are probably going to break. They are tight, and they're probably dirty, and so it's real hard to get to the top to clean them. So if you can, spray them with some goo and then hit them with an impact, which is what I'm about to try to do to get these out. I know they've come out before, so we're going to hit these with an impact driver and see what we can do. All right, and after they come out, they just turn 90 degrees and the hooks pop out of these slots and the tank falls on your face. So yeah, the only thing really holding the back end of this up is I couldn't get the fuel filler hose off all the way, so that is what's holding this up right now. But that's okay, because it's not putting a terrible amount of stress on the wires and the lines, which are right here. Let's see if we can get a better light on it. Right there. So you got to disconnect both of these lines. They're different sizes. To be honest, I don't remember exactly what's what, but once those are off, we got another vent here that has just a squeeze clip on it. That has to come off, and then it can set on the ground. You still have another connection up there, which I think is long enough to set on the ground without having to take it off. So I'm going to try to figure these out. I think they have clips that push in from one side. You have to pop those out, and then I think they just slip off. I think you can kind of see them where the crown goes around the top of that. It's got like a horseshoe clip on it that goes around those. You got to pop those off, and then they slide off and spill gas all over your face. So that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, you can kind of see what we have here. The clip opens and you push up on both sides of it, and that loosens it. The other one, which is I think the return, you just have to kind of pinch them in, and you push that white piece up and out, and it pops off and slides off that ridge. And you disconnect that other hose, and right now the only thing holding this thing up is the fuel neck. So I'm going to go get a jack, put it under the back end of this, because there's still a lot of gas in this damn thing, and try to get the fuel neck piping off of it, and then set her down and unhook that last plug, and then the tank ideally will come out. Okay, now we can see we got that plug left and this plug, which actually is up here, and they're fairly simple. You just unplug them and then the tank's done and the tank is out. It looks to be semi-straightforward, but of course it's stuck, and so is that one. So I'll take them apart and show you what they look like after. Alright, so this rear one is just, you gotta push down real hard on this top, squeeze it, and it pops off. I don't know what exactly that's for, because the level sensor is built into here. And this one is, you push on this little lever and it pops out of its connection up here. And now the tank's loose. So I'm going to see if I can get it out of here without jacking the truck up. There it is. You can see this is your fuel pump and sender. So that's what's coming out. The Delphi, usually by Airtex, so that's interesting. This is one of those vents, and this is that other vent. You can see install, so you gotta push her down and turn. Same thing with whatever this is. Install, remove, but we aren't going to touch that one. There's no need to. What I'm going to do is go get, because there's still a fair bit of gas in this thing. I'm going to go get a couple of more tanks, drain some more out, because I ain't going to be able to put this thing back up myself. And depending on what time it is, I may pull that fuel pump and try to go take it to see if they'll warranty it. Because it's just, to get this out, you just pull these 6 bolts, the whole assembly pulls out, and then you can insert your new one. But first thing first, we're going to drain this thing a little more, and then try to get that vent back in and take it out, clean it up real good. Yeah, gum up the O-ring with some of my super secret military spec O-ring lube. Get that back in, make sure she's happy, and go from there. While that's draining, scuff this up with a wire brush. Steel, of course, because I like to live dangerously. These are just 8 millimeters, and there's not much to them. So just take them all off. There's a rubber seal under there you don't want to muck up. And then this should pull right out. As a side note, this can't be designed by Ford because the fasteners are approximately the right size. If it was Ford, these would be 1.5 feet long. Don't lose those. Now, it just pulls up, and you got a few things you got to get up and around. Whew, that's kind of dirty. But there she is. That's the entire fuel sending unit. About 180 bucks if you got to buy a new one. But truck won't run without it, so kind of important. If you all have never seen inside the tank, there is a baffle system down in there that helps keep the pump submerged in fuel, even if you're going around corners at a low fuel level. And that thing is on the end of the infiller tube. So you got all sorts of turns and kinks and corners you got to make with a siphon hose to get down in here, and then it's going to smack into the pump. So it's very difficult to siphon directly out of the filler neck on these things, for whatever that's worth. Yep, make sure I haven't spilled on the ground. Nope, still good. But we're starting to get her down. Fuel tank's pretty clean. Few little things of crud, nothing major. But that's what you got inside the tank. Is your rubber seal. I don't recall if a new one comes with a pump. I think it does. I don't exactly recall, but again, we will seal it up when we get the new one. Okay, if you're doing this on the road, something else to think about. You can get a kit that just comes with a pump, if everything else works. This is a plug, and you'll have to break this clip because it's one of those compression factory clips. But you got one little tiny screw. Also looks to be, yeah, it's a 7, but you might be able to get away with an 8 millimeter for that. And then the pump would come off. You'd change that out, put it back in, plug it in, put a new, just a regular hose clamp on that, and it should be good. If they don't warranty this thing, that's probably the direction I'm going to go, because the sender unit, as far as the level sender, does still work. There's no need to change that if I don't have to. If I don't need to spend the money, I'm not going to. All right, so once you clean that up, grease your O-ring up good, get her down in there, push it down good, turn it, done. That is going to be very hard to do if you try to do that when it's still under the car, because even greased, it takes a fair bit of force to push that thing down so it'll set. But that's the same for this vent over here, which does something else, I don't know. But I'm assuming it's similar for whatever that electrical connection is as well. So there we go. A little bit of crud down there. We'll mop that out with a rag. I see something weird down there in that corner. I don't know what it is. Looks like piece of paper or something. But nothing major. No major gunk in the tank. It looks pretty clean, no rust. So we'll probably be in pretty good shape. Be a little flex and things, but nothing too bad. So I'm gonna cover this up, try to go get a fuel pump. All right, we found it in the system and they warrantied it, which is nice because that saved me 180 bucks. While I'm in here, I'm gonna do a fuel filter. It's one of these dumb things. Ford uses really dumb connections on these I don't like, but I guess they really don't leak, but you need a special tool like this. Flips over that and then pushes up inside of the filter to get it over of the clip to get it over that lip. If you don't have one of these, you are not going to get this off without breaking stuff. So I'll throw a set of these up on my Amazon affiliates page if anybody's interested in that kind of stuff. But obviously there's an arrow. Make sure you put it in going in the right direction. So let's get underneath and we'll take a look at it. There it is. Not much to it. Let's start with this front clip. It's got a piece that, I'll just go. Got to pop up. You got to pop this up here. It just flips down over it as a lock. And that can't be all. No, and then that comes off. And then you need the tool. Push the tool in. It should come off. Should being the operable word. There she goes. And then you spill gas all over your face. And this one is another one of those that has a clip that you have to push up and then pull up on it like that, and it should pop right off and spill more gas. When the fuel filter comes out and you spill more gas. Thusly. Where's our arrow? That way. All right. This thing. Maybe. Back in. Slide this one back on. Push down the clip. And then this side just pushes back on. And you can attempt to reattach the lock. And that's probably the easiest that's ever gone because I've done it before. But that's how you change one of these fuel filters on these Fords. But you absolutely need this little bugger, or you are not getting that one side off. Alright, so here's our new unit, all nice and clean. Looks basically identical, except the SOX cleaner. That's your return line with that little restrictor orifice on it. Don't take that off. Again, this only goes on one way. Got your gasket. Fish that baby down in there. Line her up. Put the obviously not Ford properly sized screws back in it and snug them down. All right, and that's the easy part. Now you got to put this thing back in. So I'll leave these caps on until I get it positioned and you can get those things plugged in. Again, you got your OEM style plug, similar style. Well, actually it's the same as the one I just took off because it's the same pump. Just press that and you'll be ready to go. So I'm going to get this tank down there and get it up on the jack. Get this thing kind of in position to go back on, maybe try to get that on a little bit, and then I'm going to start working the plugs and the hoses. I got the hose at the top started, the vents almost in the right spot. All the hoses here are connected. The plug is connected. Clamps are redone. They don't blow off, they pull. This vent is connected. So now we got to get under there, bench press this thing, hold it up with your face, and put the straps back in their slots, and try to get a screw in this thing over there, and get her held up. So that's next. All right, got our hoses back on, got both of our vents hooked back up and clamps on. All of our connections hooked up. Only thing left now is throw some gas back in it and see if she starts. All right, we got about 7 gallons of gas in it. We'll turn the key on. I hear the pump. All right, we're gonna check something. Whoa, all right, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. No more stumbling. Sure we're not leaking from anywhere. Very good. Quick check. Yep. We got fuel pressure. So, fantastic. Still got to check engine light, but I'm going to go erase that since those were just the lean codes. We're going to let it run for a little bit and see what we end up with. Looks like the fuel gauge is working. Yeah, I know the seatbelt's not on, but I think we're in good shape. Battery's good, oil pressure's good. Fantastic. So as you can see, God almighty, this poor truck. Got an exhaust rattle, but as you can see, with basically a 13mm wrench, an 8mm wrench, and a couple of screwdrivers, this can be done in a parking lot or on the side of the road. If you got a lot of gas in the tank, you're going to need 2 people, because getting that tank out from under there and then putting it back up is not easy. But you don't need a lot of tools to pull this off. So I hope that was interesting. Saved another one of these things, got it back on the road. I appreciate you all watching. Again, I'm going to put a link to those weird little fitting tools on my Amazon affiliates page. I appreciate you all taking the time to check it out, support the channel. So if y'all got any questions or other things you want to see on these silly Fords, or hell, anything else you can think of, drop me a comment. I appreciate y'all. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas.